Next one up, we talked about do or die for the Browns at 6-6. The Raiders are also 6-6. The Chiefs suddenly have got things right. They're 8-4. Their offense may not still be clicking on all cylinders like we were anticipating. But what happens, Raiders? Chiefs a big favorite, nearly a double-digit line here in this one, which will be a big deal, I think, in the grand scheme of things, right off the top here in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a big number and with good reason. I mean, when you look at this Raiders team, other than that Thanksgiving game against Dallas, this offense has really lacked punch. I think the numbers at last check, they've scored 16 points or less in 4 out of 5 games, kind of bottoming out. And you wondered how this offense was going to look being down a playmaker in Henry Ruggs, being down its play caller in John Gruden. And of course, last week having to go to battle without Darren Waller. So very limited weaponry. We'll keep tabs on Waller to see if he's upgraded. Revenge for a game the Raiders were embarrassed in their own building on Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago. Kansas City's second most prolific offensive performance in that contest. But to your point, this Chiefs team has really lacked that big play potential. It's been much more methodical, kind of dinking and dunking their way down the field as teams have adjusted. We'll see if the Raiders have the kind of personnel to make the adjustments needed with a too high safety shell to try and limit Kansas City from going up top, something they didn't do effectively in the first meeting because they didn't really try and roll that out. Meanwhile, the Raiders, I'm not sure what kind of offensive charge they can mount. The problem being with this total, I think it's been bet down way too much already. From 51 and a half at the peak, we're now looking at 47 and a half, so it doesn't offer some wiggle room. As the number inches up to 10, I could see making a slight case for the Raiders, but not a game that I'm running to bet by any stretch of the imagination. I think the Raiders can be better. I just don't have a lot of confidence if this game starts to get away for them to even keep the back door open.
NFC East, speaking of the back door open, WFT, Washington seemed like they were dead to rights. They now have crept back up into the mix in this division. They're around a 4.5-point underdog here. If they are able to win at home against the Cowboys, however, 7-6, 8-5, half game when you look at the tie break would be separating these two teams theoretically. And also it's worth contemplating down the stretch, and I think you've tweeted about this, for the WFT, they've got the Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys again, Eagles, Giants, all NFC East games. That doesn't feel too ominous. If they could win this game, Todd Furman, they are right back in the mix in winning in terms of trying to repeat as NFC East champs.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Washington has to love the way the schedule has broken in their favor so much that they can control their own destiny. And you begin to wonder if it's history repeating itself, given how slow they started last year before they picked things up late in the campaign. After going to Alex Smith, the schedule softened up and we saw the defense really start to assert its will. But this year, I feel it's a little bit different. I think Washington over the last couple of weeks, while people want to laud their defensive performances, we've seen the pressure rate drop. And it's been more the offense playing keep away than anything else. I mean, the time of possession numbers are staggering that Washington has put forth since coming out of the bye. And other than the Bucs that first Sunday that they held in check at home, you look at the recent run of opponents, and it's not exactly a murderer's row of opposing quarterbacks or weapons. I think this could be a little bit of a shock to the system. I mean, Dallas is going to have its triplets healthy in the receiving group and Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper. The offensive line will be much more intact than what we've seen for long stretches this season. And knowing that they're a little bit nicked up at the running back spot with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, I think that plays into the hands of Kellen Moore and the way he should want to call the game this week, attacking Washington through the air, putting this team on skates, and forcing the Washington football team to play from behind where they can't necessarily sit on the ball and go 2 yards in a cloud of dust. So while it's not something that I normally will like to do, advocating for a division team on the road laying points, I think this is a lay it or don't play it type scenario with the Cowboys where you can sell Washington football team stock at the bottom of the market. And for me, I think the Cowboys get to 28 points in this spot, weather permitting. So I actually like their team total over a bit. That should be available on FanDuel Sportsbook at last check, 26 and a half. I think minus $1.15, the going rate.
Giants, I'm not even going to go to Giants Chargers. Sorry. I meant to hit 49ers Bengals. If you have a strong lean in any of these games that are not both.
I definitely don't in Giants Chargers. Although as an SEC guy, you should be carrying the flag for Georgia football. They need something to get excited about. And Jake Fromm will potentially make his long-awaited NFL starting debut.
I will say, Jake Fromm, I know it's hard to outkick your coverage if you are a starting quarterback in the SEC. He might have done it, so at least he's doing well in that department. 49ers Bengals, by the way. You got two teams that are on the periphery kind of fighting, 6-6 49ers who've gotten a little bit hotter. Bengals, I mean, I started to believe in them, and then they got whipped this past weekend. What happens here? San Francisco, a small favorite on the road in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I actually like the road team in this spot. Now, I know we're going to be watching the injury designation and status for Elijah Mitchell, dealing with concussion protocol, but it came out earlier this week that he had an MRI on his knee. Never a great situation to deal with. But the 49ers were down a couple of key cogs last weekend, and it showed in the second half where they allowed Seattle to completely lock that offense down. But Deebo Samuel trending up. We'll keep tabs on that to see if he's a full go on the Friday practice report with a groin injury. Fred Warner, no limitations in practice, which will help this defense substantially. And when you look at this 49ers team, specifically with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm, they've been much more dynamic at the betting window from an against the spread standpoint when they go out on the road than when they play at home. So I think things point in that positive direction, especially in the wake of that performance against Seattle, where they came up, 6-7 yards short with that last minute potential touchdown game-winning drive. Meanwhile, on the other side for Cincinnati, I mean, this is a team dealing with a rash of injuries, most notably to Joe Burrow, dislocated pinky, not going to throw the ball a ton in practice. And I think it's a bigger deal, not just because it's his pinky, but because Joe Burrow is still working to build a rapport with younger receivers. I mean, we see Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers taking a week off of practice. You don't worry about it. They've grown familiar and comfortable running their offensive scheme. They know their weapons. But if Burrow's not out there working with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and company, you begin to have some questions about the potential timing against the 49ers defense that's going to put some pressure on them. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, no Logan Wilson, the talented linebacker out of Wyoming. He's the defensive play caller, going to be out for an extended period of time. Chidobe Awuzie left the game last week against the Chargers. And there's a reason the 49ers have moved from modest 1-point underdogs into that slight road favorite role. This is one of the biggest coaching mismatches as well, Clay, that you're going to see of the NFL week. I think Coach Shanahan gets his bunch ready to roll, and Kyle gets the better of Zach Taylor. I like the 49ers here to win rather comfortably.